Mangwana ni mwalelepo vukenjani klekwas vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. The news broadcast that brings you the latest news shaping the continent, with Arrie Houggard delivering key updates from South Africa. In today's other headlines, Lesotho reacts to Trump's remark dismissing the country. Arrests in South Sudan raise concerns over a peace deal. Germany halts aid to Rwanda over its alleged support for M23 rebels. And Guinea-Bissau's president seeks a second term amid political tensions. Yeah, as we said, we will also be crossing over to Arrie Houggard as he brings us the news stories from South Africa. One of the South African stories we have in our top stories is about a new South African play on Winnie Mandela's life. Top African countries for work-life balance is something that we'll be looking at in economic news stories. So catch us on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, and Network Media Hub on YouTube. Let's head into the top stories. Getting into the top stories. Lesotho's foreign minister said he was shocked and insulted by U.S. President Donald Trump saying nobody has heard of the African country and invited him to come visit. Trump mentioned Lesotho in his address to U.S. Congress on Tuesday evening while listing some of the foreign spending he had cut as appalling waste. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of, Trump said, drawing laughs in Congress. Lesotho's foreign minister, Leon Mposhwane, said the remark was quite insulting. I'm really shocked that any country can be referred to like that by the head of state, he told Reuters. Lesotho, a mountainous nation of about 2 million people, which is encircled by South Africa, has the highest average altitude of any country and is sometimes called the kingdom in the sky. Lesotho is such a significant and unique country in the whole world. I would be happy to invite Donald Trump as well as the rest of the world to come to Lesotho, said Mposhwane. He said some civil society organizations funded by the U.S. Embassy in Lesotho did work to support the LGBTQ+ community, but the United States also provided important funding for the country's health and agriculture sectors. Trump's administration has cut billions of dollars in foreign aid worldwide as it seeks to align spending with Trump's America First policy. Mposhwane said Lesotho was feeling the impact as the health sector had been reliant on that aid for some time, but that the government was looking at how to become more self-sufficient. The decision by the president to cut the aid is his prerogative, said Mposhwane. We have to accept that, but to refer to my country like that, it is quite unfortunate. Security forces in South Sudan have arrested the oil minister and an army general who are senior members of the main opposition, sparking concerns that the peace deal that ended the civil war may be under threat. General Gabriel Dope Lam and Puot Kang Shol, high-ranking figures of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement in opposition, are both allies of Vice President Riek Machar, a rival of President Salva Kiir. Its military spokesperson, Colonel Lam Gabriel Paul, told the BBC that the government had given no reasons for the arrests. South Sudan is the world's newest nation after seceding from Sudan in 2011, but just 2 years later, a civil war erupted after Machar and Kiir fell out. After 5 years, with 400,000 lives lost and 2.5 million people forced from their homes, a peace deal was agreed in 2018, but it has been fraught with issues ever since. Despite the arrests and increasing tension, President Kiir said South Sudan would not go back to war. Government spokesperson Michael McAway told reporters in the capital, Juba, on Wednesday General Lam is in charge of the military wing of the opposition party, which is yet to be integrated into the army. He was taken into custody and Shaw was taken by security forces in the middle of the night. Machar's house in the capital, Juba, was surrounded by troops from the South Sudanese army overnight before they were later withdrawn. Now, all other senior military officials allied with Machar have been placed under house arrest, the BBC understands. Germany said this week it had halted new development aid to Rwanda and was reviewing its existing commitments in response to the African nation's role in the conflict in neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. The German Development Ministry said Berlin had informed Rwanda in advance of the move and urged it to withdraw support for the M23 rebel group, which has made advances in eastern Congo. UN experts and Western powers accuse Rwanda of backing the group. Rwanda denies this and says it is defending itself against ethnic Hutu-led militias bent on slaughtering Tutsis in Congo and threatening Rwanda. Rwanda's foreign ministry called Germany's action wrong and counterproductive. Countries like Germany that bear a historical responsibility for the recurring instability in this region should know better than to apply one-sided coercive measures, Rwanda's foreign ministry said in a statement late on Tuesday. The German ministry said Berlin last pledged aid of 93.6 million euros to Rwanda in October 2022 for the period 2022 to 2024. Now, the M23 group has captured swaths of eastern Congo and valuable mineral deposits, and this has been since January. Guinea-Bissau's President Umaro Sissoco Mbako said he will run for a second term in November amid tensions with an opposition that refuses to recognize him as the country's current president. Meanwhile, a delegation from the West African regional bloc ECOWAS that had been sent to Guinea-Bissau in hopes of resolving the country's political crisis departed on Monday after what they said were threats of expulsion from Mbako. Mbako, who dissolved the opposition-dominated parliament in late 2023, told reporters he would run again Monday at the airport in the capital, Bissau, following his trip to Russia, Azerbaijan, and Hungary. "I will be a candidate for my own succession," Mbalo said. Guinea-Bissau's constitution sets the presidential term at 5 years, renewable once, and Mbalo would be running for an allowed second term. But the details of his first term are complicated, and the opposition argues that his first term already has ended. Mbalo's announcement risks escalating tensions in the small West African nation, which has endured multiple coups since gaining independence from Portugal over 50 years ago. Mbalo won an election on November 24, 2019 and was sworn in as president on February 27, 2020. But the opposition contested the result and the Supreme Court did not recognize his victory until September 4. A new theatre play about anti-apartheid icon Winnie Mandela seeks to highlight the struggles of black women in South Africa who had to wait years for their husbands to return from exile, prison, or faraway work during decades of white minority rule. The play about the late former wife of Nelson Mandela, South Africa's first black president, is adapted from the novel The Cry of Winnie Mandela by Njabulo Ndebele. It explores themes of loneliness, infidelity, and betrayal. At the height of apartheid, Madikizela Mandela was one of the most recognizable faces of South Africa's liberation struggle, while her husband and other freedom fighters spent decades in prison. That meant constant harassment by police. At one point, she was banished from her home in Soweto on the outskirts of Johannesburg and forcibly relocated to Brandfort, a small rural town she had never visited, nearly 350 kilometers away. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. We are shortly going to be getting into the weather, and after the break, we're going to be talking to Arrie Houggard about the latest stories coming from South Africa. Of course, aside from the Winnie Mandela play, Arrie is going to be talking to us about the Rand somewhat recovering, the latest from the DA and AfriForum, the latest from the Proteas, as well as Bafana, and all the best attractions in South Africa. Stay with us. right, it's time to talk to Arrie Houggard as he brings us the latest news stories from South Africa. Good morning, Arrie. How are you?
Yes, a very good morning, Ashwin. Yes, nice to talk to you this morning. Morning, everyone.
All right, let's get straight into it, Arrie. We start off with your current affairs. The rand recovered somewhat, with South Africa currently caught in a global trade war that is mostly being driven by the USA. And do give us an update on the DA meeting with US leaders to try and stabilize diplomatic relations, and the Hawks receiving 4 dockets related to AfriForum for possible treason against South Africa.
Yes, Ashwin, a lot's happening in South Africa. Obviously, we're waiting for the budget also to be released soon. That's also discussions going on. And that's the rand and the dollars that, next to each other. It's roughly $1 to 20, not 1 to 100 there. But the reality is that the rand strengthened a little bit. 1839 it was overnight. But South Africa linked to all these economic influxes to what's happening globally. Described at the moment as a global trade war. That's some of the discussions, and that's the photo there of the White House, mostly because of all the actions of America and President Donald Trump. So South Africa also well documented. There's many implications for South Africa, but South Africa not alone. Seems like there's other countries that have similar challenges. Neighboring country for the USA, for instance, Canada and Mexico, neighboring to the north and the south. There's tariff increases there up to 25% announced by Donald Trump. So also doubling levies on China, that's up to 20% now. So it's happening globally all over. I think South Africa, to be realistic, do realize that there was quite a bit of aid, influx of dollars into South Africa that assisted mainly the HIV programs, also aid in many other areas as well for the community specifically. So it's important for that to address that diplomatic relationships. What's happened now is obviously the government of national unity don't have an official appointment yet with the USA. According to the ambassador of the United States in the United States, Ibrahim Rasool, South African ambassador there, he said that there's actually no Africa bureau at the moment in place in America. 300 people have been fired that's been working in that section, and so it was difficult to get an appointment as well. I think they want to get the budget behind them, but what happened was the government of national unity, so it was the DA MP, Emma Powell, that went with Andrew Whitfield. He's also the deputy president or the minister of agriculture. So they went to the USA, so they had discussions there with senior discussion makers, let's call it that, key decision makers of the Congress. And so it was important discussions, but it is still a frosty relationship, and a lot need to be figured out. And they came back and said America wants to form a deal. That seems like the words of Donald Trump. He wants to make a deal. But anyway, so hopefully there was interaction, there was discussion, so hopefully that will turn out well. Just related to the docket that you also referred to, Ashwin, yes, it's interesting. AfriForum, it's well documented as well. They're still there. Those are some of the members. They were at the White House and putting a case for the so-called Afrikaner to the American people. But now there's 4 dockets being investigated for treason against the country. So the challenge is that they can go and have discussions there, but they must stick to the truth. So there mustn't be misinformation. If there's things to be addressed, it's fair to say that, but there mustn't be misinformation. And then, so there's investigation by the Hawks, and they constitutionally they allowed to do that they can investigate. I'm sure if the NPA will then follow up with prosecuting, but at least the process is ongoing, so we'll see when they come back. So lots happening in South Africa, and in the end, the rand did stabilize a little bit, so that's good news. So hopefully all these things can fall in place as it needs to be.
All right, Arrie, let's swing over into some sport. The Proteas men's cricket team played in the semi-final in the Champions Trophy against New Zealand. And do tell us about South Africa men's soccer team Bafana Bafana playing 2 important FIFA World Cup qualifying games this month.
Yes, indeed. The cricket also well documented. South Africa came close in the T20 final, just lost there, but those are the cricket players. Unfortunately, South Africa lost against New Zealand. That was played in Pakistan in the semi-finals. So they're not playing in a final on Sunday. We all hope that would be a nice final on Sunday, but it's New Zealand playing against India, but still well played to them. They lost the toss. I think they had a big influence. New Zealand batting first, putting on a massive total, batting under the lights second was always difficult for South Africa, but well done to Temba Bavuma and his team as well. But turning on to the soccer, hopefully South Africa can qualify for the next World Cup, 2026 it will be. Two important qualifying games that's coming up, the 21st of May in Lesotho, or against Lesotho, and that will be in Polokwane in the northern part of South Africa. And then they travel to Côte d'Ivoire to play on a neutral field against Benin. Still 6 games left. If South Africa win all of them, they will secure automatic qualifying, but it's unlikely they will win all 6. But there's other qualifying processes as well. One player that I'm excited for that's playing again in the group is Percy Tau. Always loved him, a great striker, played for Mamelodi Sundowns. Actually, people might forget he also played 3 years for Brighton. He played for Al Ahly in Egypt. He now plays for Qatar. Great striker, Percy Tau. He's also in the group. Hopefully that he can make a big influence, make a big difference in that team to play against Lesotho on the 21st.
Well, I have to say I'm quite fond of the name Towel because it's my second name, Arrie. I don't know if you knew that. But what I do know you know about is the Two Ocean Aquarium in Cape Town, which is a major tourism and entertainment draw card and a big component of Western Cape tourism income. Tell us about that.
Yes, indeed, Ashwin. It's you can see the ocean here behind me. So the Two Oceans Aquarium is right where the Atlantic and Indian Ocean meet in Cape Town, and in the waterfront. And it was established November 1995 already. You can see it's quite impressive. They've got 8,000 animals there. It's 3,000 species, mainly obviously from sea life. Incredible exhibition there. So everybody. Anybody visiting Cape Town should make a stop to the waterfront first, or while you're in the waterfront, go to the Two Oceans Aquarium. So 500,000 people visit the aquarium annually. So it's quite a big draw card and great for tourism in South Africa. You can see amazing species there, like the stingray there, and then also there's obviously very rare penguins as well. So Africa, in their waters, they have 100 different shark species. So that's also displayed there at the aquarium, and kelp forest as well. So it's an incredible place to visit. When you visit the waterfront, it's not only about the sights of Table Mountain and great restaurants, it's also the Two Oceans Aquarium that you can go to for all around great experience of tourism in Cape Town.
All right, Arrie, I'll certainly be taking a visit, especially because our aquarium in Swakopmund is still being redone. So until then, Cape Town, you've got my heart. Thank you, Arrie, for bringing us the news stories from South Africa.
Thanks, Ashwin. Yes, it's lovely talking, and I'll remember the town now. Hopefully your second name can be inspirational for the Bafana Bafana to qualify for the World Cup through Percy Tau.
Well, I don't know if you know this, Zimbabwe is in the same group as Bafana Bafana and AFCON, so the luck I wish Bafana Bafana is rather limited. Thank you very much, Arrie. Now, in economic news, top 5 African countries with the best work-life balance. Stay with us. The conversation around work-life balance remains as relevant as ever in 2024. As workplaces evolve and employee expectations shift, the focus is moving from hours spent at a desk to actual productivity and results. For many Africans, work is not just about earning a paycheck, it's about survival. With high unemployment rates in some areas, many employees in both formal and informal sectors work beyond their designated hours, sometimes without additional compensation. The culture of hustle is strong, and in many cases, people take on multiple roles, corporate jobs during the day and side businesses in the evening to support their families. This can make it difficult to find time for rest, hobbies, or even spending quality time with loved ones. Employers have a key role to play in improving work-life balance. A recent study found that 93% of women globally have faced mental health challenges due to poor work-life balance. While some African countries are prioritizing employee well-being, there's still a long way to go. While some African countries are certainly focused on this, the other countries do need to do some catching up. The private sector is slowly recognizing that well-rested employees are more productive, leading to initiatives such as shorter work weeks, increased parental leave, and wellness programs. These are the top 5 African countries with the best work-life balance. Number 1, South Africa, and specifically Pretoria. Number 2, Algiers. Number 3, Cairo, Egypt. Number 4, Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. And number 5, Nigeria. You're still with Africa Good Morning. Let's have a look at the economic indicators. Well, it's been quite the show. Arrie Houggard updated us on the performance of the Rand as well as the DA trying to stabilize relations with the USA in spite of AfriForum being in the USA, making things a little complicated. 4 dockets for treason against South Africa have been filed against AfriForum. Arrie also gave us the sports, talking about the Proteas as well as Bafana having 2 chances to qualify for the FIFA World Cup this month, and of course the aquarium in Cape Town. Let's have a look at the highlights from some of our other top stories. Lesotho insulted after Trump says nobody has heard of the country. This is truly understandable. I mean, this is a country with the highest altitude in the world. Their frustrations are something that certainly makes sense, and I guess Donald Trump might need a little lesson on diplomacy, and by little, I mean big. Opposition arrests spark fears over South Sudan peace deal. This is a country that only recently managed to attain peace, and it seems like it's looking shaky with regards to that peace deal. Germany stops new aid to Rwanda over Congo conflict. It's been a rough 2 weeks for Rwanda because the UK as well has decided to stop aid, and they're having an issue with their asylum deal that they previously made. Rwanda is asking for the money from that. The UK's administration, political administration, changed, and they're saying we're not giving you that money. So sticky situations for Rwanda in particular with regards to Congo. Guinea-Bissau's President embargoed to seek a second term. This is obviously complicating the issues in Guinea-Bissau, considering that he had already dissolved an opposition-led parliament. And top 5 African countries with the best work-life balance. And as you could have noticed, it was going to be South Africa's Pretoria at the top of that list. DSTV 2 at 5, GOTV 25, 1up2.com, and Network Media Hub on YouTube is where you can find Africa Good Morning. From me, Ashwin Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team, Swera Jaganaka.